I haven't met you before, have I?
Well, I don't think so. Have you?
No, that was a different...
Hey folks, how's it going? I just figured I wanted to do one last video before we put this season to rest. There was one very important element of the season that I neglected to rank. Something that was threaded throughout the whole thing, and I felt like it was important to make that happen right now before the memory of the season evaporated from mine and the collective consciousness of Doctor Who fans like a bad dream. There's a lot of ongoing mysteries and strange phenomenon happening throughout the season that, for the most part, I would say did not pan out in a way that felt satisfying, unfortunately. However, there was one thread that I felt actually worked pretty well and was probably the strongest part of the mystery box, in my opinion, just as far as the way it was utilized and the payoff at the end and how it tied into the big finale. And that would be the ongoing appearance of Susan Twist throughout all of this season, and even before the season slightly, appearing once in the 60th anniversary special, Wild Blue Yonder. I think that Susan Twist was a very fun element. It was fun to spot her, and it was like a little cool Easter egg that piqued my interest throughout the season, and I feel like her payoff at the end actually made sense for Doctor Who logic and was meaningful, and it was a really cool way to see one actor showcase a variety of different personas and personalities throughout the season. It was fun to see this actress, who I grew to appreciate and enjoy whenever she popped up, being to play all these different types of characters. So I just figured it would be fun to just rank them. Just rank them, just put them in a list and number them best to worst, because that's what we do on the internet, and that is the way it should be. According to IMDb, Susan Twist's real name is in fact Susan Twist. That was not a fake out name just for the intents of this season. She really is called Susan Twist. In fact, she's never referred to as Susan Twist in the series proper. She's referred to as Susan Triad in the finale, but she's never called Susan Twist. That's just what, you know, we the Whovians picked up on by reading the credits at the end of every episode. However, I'm more than certain that Russell T Davies intentionally cast this woman partially because of her very fun name, because he wanted to use that extra little bit to lean into his meta vibe that he was heavily into during this season. She has credits going back all the way to the 1980s according to IMDb, so she is very much a real person, and she really is called Susan Twist, or at least that's her stage name. Susan Twist appears in 10 episodes of Doctor Who. The 8 episodes of this primary season, the Christmas special, and the 60th anniversary special, Wild Blue Yonder. I listed those in reverse for no apparent reason. She appears in 10 episodes and plays 11 different distinct characters. But before we go any further, I'm going to remind you to like and subscribe to this channel. Do it, because I make stuff that you probably like if you're still watching right now. So go ahead, give me a little bit of love. It'll help the algorithm know that I'm out there, you know? I would appreciate it. So without further ado, let's get this list started. Let's get to ranking. Starting at number 11, we have the Slugma from Planet Slug. Now this is a very cool looking character, no doubt. She looks like a Borg from Star Trek, very clearly influenced by that. She's some kind of a half-human, half-robot cyborg creature. And that is the beginning and the end of what we know about this character, because we did not get to see that adventure. The reason this character is so low is because A, we have no story or context or real characterization of this character, just a single shot of the character looking at the camera. But it's mainly ranked low because of the lost potential here. This looks like it could have been a really cool story. And the fact that we did not get to see the adventures of the Doctor and Ruby on Slug, but instead got to watch Space Babies, is a travesty in my opinion. I feel like anything would have been better than Space Babies, and this character looks like she's actually in a cool Doctor Who story, so it just feels like missed potential here. On that note, we can easily put in the 10th spot the Griffin from the planet Varsite, which is a very cool looking alien. In fact, the image of this character flashed on the screen during the Next Time trailer for The Legend of Ruby Sunday, which caused an enormous amount of speculation from everybody across the board, including myself, yours truly, because that looked like a cool alien character. It looked like a secret evil version of Susan Twist, maybe the ultimate version, the puppet master, the alien lord that was creating all these different versions of herself. Maybe that's what it was. People speculated all over the place. I personally thought she was the Rani. But as we found out, nah, she's just some alien that the Doctor saw in some adventure that we did not get to see Instead, we got to see, again, space babies rather than that cool story. So gets number 10. It's slightly cooler looking, in my opinion, than the robot person, so I put it one rank higher, but that's about it. Moving on to number 9, we have the portrait of the Duke's dead mother in 1813 in the story Rogue. It's a fine painting, but it is not actually the actress. She is not giving a performance, and it is just one little tiny scene. So I can't put it any higher than that. It goes above the other 2 characters because at least this portrait appears in a story we actually got to see. And it was a nice twist, a nice different way to insert the character into one of the stories. Okay, cool. And now we're getting to actual performances by Susan Twist that appeared in actual stories. For number 8, I am going to put Gina Scalzi in Pacifico del Rio, the comms officer who appears briefly lodging her complaint about having to abandon the space babies. This was a cool cameo. Again, I like this cameo. It's very brief. It just appears on a screen. Kind of reminded me of the Rose cameos that were popping up during Series 4. Just a nice little Easter egg. If you hadn't been noticing it before, this was the first time that I feel like I started to pick up on the fact that that woman looked familiar. I think they just showed it in a way where it seemed innocuous and just part of the storyline, but also the camera weirdly zoomed in on it for a second too long and made you wonder, what's going on with that? What's going on with that character? So this was a nice threading of the story. One of the few good things about that story, Space Babies, was this cameo, this Susan Twist Easter egg. I think this was well done. Next up in number 7 spot, we have the Heckler. Seems like kind of a rock and roll looking lady hanging out in the club that Ruby and her band were unsuccessfully trying to play their set for. The instruments cut out and the crowd gets restless, and this heckler yells out to them to just give it a little welly, which is apparently a British phrase for, give it some effort, give it some zhuzh. And then she asked them to perform Gaudete, which, much like the lead singer, my brain went, what? What is that? What is she asking for? I looked it up. It's apparently a traditional Christmas song. I guess maybe British folks are into it. I'm not aware of it myself, but that's what she was calling for. Small bit, not much for her to do in this one, but a fun character in a fun scenario, and the first appearance for her in the Shutigawa era proper. So we're going to put her there. For number 6, we're going to go with her first appearance, not in the season proper, but in Wild Blue Yonder, where she appears as Mrs. Merridew, Sir Isaac Newton's housekeeper. She has a few little fun lines, a little bit of banter back and forth with the jovial Isaac Newton. It's a very sunny, nice day. It's a friendly interaction, and then he goes about his business, and you don't think anything of it. It's her first appearance, so you got nothing to go by. But it's a nice seeding of her. It's just completely innocuous. It just seems like just a regular side character to introduce the primary character of that scene. So I like the way she's threaded in here. It's a good start for the character. Now we're moving into the really fun characters, in my opinion. The ones where she got to play a full different persona, and she really kind of leaned into it. And for that, we're going to go into the number 5 spot with Penny Pepperbean, Lindy Pepperbean's doting mother. She's such a sweet, loving mother, it appears. She's done everything for her rich, entitled, racist daughter and put her in this beautiful, vapid bubble where she can always be happy. She seems like a real gem of a lady. She puts on a very fun, kind of overly cartoonishly doting, sweetie mother persona, and it seems like she had a lot of fun with this. Also, her hair is fabulous. The colors are great. And this is the one where the Doctor and Ruby start to really pick up on this, because they out loud call out that they recognize her. They recognize her as the ambulance. Ruby says she recognizes her from somewhere else. This is where the show started letting us know that the Doctor and Ruby were also aware of the mystery that we ourselves were theory crafting about, which was a fun moment. All right, next up is number 4. In number 4, I'm going to put the tea lady who the Doctor squabbles with about the price of the tea, which kind of confused me because he's the Doctor and he seems like money's not an issue for him. I mean, he can just like break open an ATM whenever he wants cash. We've seen him do it before. So I don't know why he's whinging about a half a crown for tea. I don't know what that means anyway. Is that a lot of money in 1963? But she has a nice fun moment. She gets to be very sarcastic and dry, and then she plants a little seed of intrigue in we the viewers, because she starts to talk about how she was this actress.
That's me, Margaret Lockwood in The Wicked Lady. Now there was a woman. Statuesque.
In context, you can see that she could be talking about how she's just being sarcastic and, yeah, that's me, I'm this criminal. But it also, because we've seen her so many times, it starts to make you wonder, is she self-aware? Does she know that she's all these different people? Is she slyly referencing the fact that she is all these different people? I feel like this would have played a little better, in my opinion, if this had been placed later in the season, because it feels like a more overt appearance of her. And then they have the whole Twist at the End song at the end of that episode, which I also feel like would have fit a lot better towards the end of the season. In fact, I think the story was probably meant to play towards the end of the season, maybe right before the finale. But nonetheless, it's a fun cameo, and I enjoy it. All right, and now we're moving into the top three. The top three. Who are the top three? Well, we know who the top three is by process of elimination, but who's 1, 2, and 3? That's what we're going to do right now. In number 3, we have the ambulance from Boom. This is a very cool use of Susan Twist to make her overtly the face of the villains. Like, essentially the main villain of Boom is Susan Twist, aka the ambulances. She's very creepy and off-putting, just the way she delivers her lines in such a calm, soothing voice as she's murdering these people. It's a pretty cool monster design. It's, you know, this season was a little lacking in monster designs, but I thought the ambulances was a fun, interesting take on it. Actually, the ambulances remind me a lot of like 70s, 80s Doctor Who. It kind of reminded me of the big robot in Paradise Towers, you know, that kind of a thing. Just a big clunky machine trundling around with little arms and stuff. Oh, it also kind of reminds me of the robot from Sontaran Experiment, which I'll be reviewing shortly. That's the next classic story I'll be reviewing. So it reminded me of that with its arms that shot out, the wiry arms that shot out and grabbed people. In fact, I think that might have been inspired by that, now that I'm thinking about it. So the ambulance was cool. The ambulance was cool. It was creepy. It was an interesting use of the character. So now, moving on to the top 2. Who is 2 and who is 1? I'll tell you. In the second spot, we have the hiker from 73 Yards. This is probably the spookiest, eeriest appearance of the character, because we already know we've seen her by this point. We recognize her. And then she just walks right up and she's talking to Ruby. And Ruby recognizes her. And Ruby's being followed by another old lady who looks like she could be Susan Twist, like a ghostly version of her following her, you know? So you're thinking like, oh, is this all going to converge? Is this where we're going to get like a big reveal about who this character is? You know, and I just, in general, I like her interactions with Ruby. She seems like an actually friendly, nice person, so I just like her on a, like, person level. She seems so helpful and like genuine and just like a real normal person, but it's also really creepy. And then when Ruby asks her to go talk to the old lady, like, you know, you sit up and you're like, oh my god, is Susan Twist about to go talk to Susan Twist? Is something going to happen? Is this going to reveal what happens? And then when she goes to talk to her, and it just like turns so weird and creepy so fast. She turns and she looks at Ruby and she screams and she runs away. It's the first time we see that happen in 73 Yard. It's super effective, super disturbing. It just makes you wonder, did she just walk up to the woman and realize that that woman is her? And that woman is like a ghostly, like zombified version of herself? And that's why she screamed and ran away? Is that what's going on here? It really piqued my interest. It really made the creepy mystery of what was happening feel extra creepy and weird on 2 levels. It was the mystery of the individual story and the overarching mystery of the season, both converging to create a really eerie, spooky moment. So I really loved that. So I'm going to put that at number 2. But of course, as always, there can be only one at number 1. And that number 1, in case you haven't guessed yet, is Susan Triad, the ultimate Susan Twist, the one we meet in the finale, the 2-parter. Now, I have my feelings on the finale, and they are not great. And if you want to see me rant about that for about 30 minutes, feel free to check out my ranked episodes and finale review video that I posted last week. Go ahead and check that out if you want to get the deets on exactly how and why I felt like the finale fell short. But one thing about the finale that I felt did not fall short was the Susan Twist twist. I felt like it was actually a very cool trap for a villain to lay for the Doctor, to reel him in, make him think he's going to meet a long-lost family member, and then just twist and turn it on him and be like, no, F you, you're actually meeting your worst enemy and everyone's dead. Like, that was pretty cool. That was a pretty cool twist. Aside from that, just the character herself, Susan Triad, she's a lovely character. She's fun. She's funny, she's charming. It's eerie and creepy, the way they slowly unveil that she's not aware of what's going on either, but she's definitely a part of something. And then when she starts doing her speech and Sutek's voice starts intruding on her mind and she starts trailing off and kind of losing her mind and having a mental breakdown on stage about how they're always in her dreams. Like, it's such a creepy moment. So well done.
In every dream I'm there.
The rest of the story, you know, not so great. But this moment in isolation and her build-up and the reveal of her twist, her character as this skull-faced bringer of death was effective. Even though I made a little bit of fun out of the skull faces looking a little Halloween masky, hers looked better. Like, I feel like, unfortunately, the Harbinger mask looked a lot more Halloween-y, but her face looked decent at least, and she was legitimately creepy in her role as possessed evil Susan Triad. So all of that together made for a really memorable, impactful version of the character. But at the end of the day, I just gotta admit this, the real reason that Susan Triad takes the top spot is because of the Susan Triad dance. Now I'm aware that this was apparently a somewhat dated reference to a Theresa May dance that occurred a few years ago. That's apparently the political or social dig that's going on here. But I gotta say, I think Russell T Davies made a mistake or misjudged just how fly Susan Twist would look doing her version of this dance. I mean, she looks awesome. Like, if I was at a dance club and I saw a lady dancing like this, I would join in a second. This looks like a super fun dance. She's having a ball. She's totally owning it. She's owning her silliness and her goofiness and her freeness and her fun-loving spirit. And I'm just completely on board with the Susan Triad dance.
All right. Thank you. We've had our fun. Especially you. Woo.
So that's it. That is my Susan Twist ranking video. I think she was a very interesting and weird character. I like the actor. I think she's a cool addition to the cast. I would like to see the series in some way, shape, or form capitalize on this new bizarre sci-fi phenomenon of there being literally thousands, if not millions, of Susan Twists scattered throughout time and space, including several hundreds, I'd imagine, just living on Earth simultaneously all at the same time. I would love to see them come back and in some weird way explore that, like have all the Susan Twists have some sort of a psychic connection and create some sort of a psychic field or band together and form an army of Susan Twists. I don't know, it could go anywhere, but it's just now that you have thousands of Susan Twists all over the place, all played by a very charming and lovely actress, I'd welcome a return of that character in some way, shape, or form. Good job, Susan Twist. You nailed it. The showrunner may not have, but you did. So I just want to salute you. So that's it. That's all I got to say about that. Please remember to like and subscribe. And as for what's coming next, I've got Sontaran Experiment review coming up. I got Rose, Modern Doctor Who Season 1 review coming up. And I'm going to do a big old History of Romana video because I think Romana is at the very least going to be referenced in the next season. I don't think that Mrs. Flood is Romana. I think Mrs. Flood is intentionally cosplaying as the Doctor's multiple companions from the past in order to mock him and possibly mock us, the viewers, since she's breaking the fourth wall. But she clearly referenced Romana with her big snowy outfit at the end of the final episode of the season. So I think a Romana video is in order. Also, Romana is an awesome companion, one of my favorite companions. So stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for all those videos coming up. That's all I got to say. So until next time, Kay, signing out.